Imagine checking into a five-star hotel for a secret night, only to find out your wife owns the place. The marble floors of the Langston Grand Hotel shimmered under the golden glow of chandeliers, each crystal scattering light across polished stone. The place exuded wealth, quiet, effortless wealth, the kind that made people lower their voices when they stepped inside. Ethan Cole, 39 years old, handed his platinum credit card to the woman at the front desk. With dark hair neatly combed and an easy, confident smile, he looked like the kind of man who was used to being obeyed, admired, and maybe even envied. Beside him, Layla, 27, leaned into his arm. Her red dress caught the light, hugging her figure as her eyes sparkled with awe. "This place is gorgeous," she whispered, looking around at the towering glass walls and marble columns. Ethan smiled, that charming, practiced grin. "I told you, sweetheart. Only the best for you." The receptionist, a young woman in a sleek navy uniform, smiled politely as she processed the card. "Welcome to the Langston Grand, Mr. Cole. We're delighted to have you staying with us tonight." Ethan barely looked at her. His attention was fixed on Layla, who was clearly swept up in the luxury of it all. His wife, Rachel, thought he was in Boston for a 3-day leadership summit. She'd kissed him goodbye that morning, wished him luck on his presentation, and sent him off with complete trust, the kind that makes a lie feel almost too easy. For Ethan, that trust had been convenient. 12 years of marriage had made his double life comfortable, too comfortable. The receptionist slid a keycard across the counter. "Your suite is ready, Mr. Cole. One more thing, the hotel's new owner is greeting guests this evening. She likes to personally welcome everyone during her first week in charge." Ethan looked mildly annoyed. "New owner?" "Yes, sir," the receptionist replied. "The hotel was sold just a few days ago. It's been quite an exciting week for us." Layla giggled softly. "A new owner? Maybe we'll get to meet her." Ethan smirked. "Maybe. But right now, I'm more interested in getting upstairs." He took the keycard, and they started toward the elevators. But before they got 3 steps away, a calm, familiar voice cut through the lobby air. "Ethan." Just his name, but spoken with a tone that made the hairs on his neck stand up. He froze. Slowly, he turned. And when his eyes found the source of that voice, his entire world tilted. Standing 10 feet away was Rachel. She looked different. Stronger. Her dark brown hair was swept back into a neat bun. She wore a tailored navy suit, the kind of outfit he had never seen her in. Her posture was confident, her expression calm. "Rachel," he stammered, his voice barely audible. "What are you doing here?" Her lips curved into a cool, polite smile. "I own this hotel," she said evenly, walking toward him. "As of Monday morning. Didn't I mention I was making some investments?" The color drained from Layla's face. Her hand slipped from Ethan's arm. "Wait, is this your wife?" "Yes," Rachel said before Ethan could speak. "I'm Mrs. Cole. And you must be Layla Grant, from Ethan's marketing team, right?" Layla's eyes widened. How did you know that?" Rachel's smile didn't reach her eyes. "I know a lot of things. For example, I know this isn't your first trip to a hotel together. There was the Riverstone Inn last month. And the Bayside Resort before that. Should I keep going?" The silence in the lobby was deafening. The receptionist froze behind the desk, pretending to be invisible. A woman in a black suit, likely a manager, appeared from a nearby office, arms folded, watching everything unfold. "Rachel, please," Ethan began, his voice breaking. "Please what?" Rachel interrupted softly. "Please stop embarrassing you. Because you already did that yourself, bringing your mistress to a hotel and paying with our joint credit card." Layla's face turned red with shock. I didn't know he was married," she stammered. "He told me he was divorced." Rachel nodded. "I believe you. He's very convincing when he lies. But don't worry, I'm not angry at you." She turned to the receptionist. "Make sure Ms. Grant's stay is comfortable. The suite is already paid for. She can order anything she likes, spa, room service, the works. Consider it compensation for her time." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Rachel, what are you doing?" "I'm being generous," she replied coolly. Layla didn't make any vows to me. You did. She deserves a peaceful evening. You, on the other hand, will not be needing that sweet. Layla looked torn, part humiliated, part desperate to disappear. Finally, she whispered, "I'm so sorry, Mrs. Cole," before hurrying toward the elevators. When she was gone, Ethan turned back to his wife. "Can we please talk about this somewhere private?" "Of course," she said. "My office is right this way." She gestured toward a glass door near the reception area. The manager in the dark suit followed silently. "This is Marianne Wu," Rachel said as they walked. "My attorney. She's been very helpful over the past few months." Inside the office, the mood shifted. It was elegant, sleek, and modern, a corner office overlooking the city skyline. Behind the wide oak desk sat Rachel, calm as ever. Marianne opened a leather folder and began taking notes. Ethan sat down slowly, trying to steady his breath. "How long have you known?" "About Layla?" 2 months, Rachel said. "About your affairs in general?" "Almost a year." He flinched. "A year?" "Yes," she said, matter-of-factly. "The first one was Melissa from accounting, right? Then Kara, the consultant from that conference in Miami. After the fourth one, I stopped keeping count." Ethan dropped his face into his hands. "If you knew, why didn't you say anything?" Rachel leaned back in her chair. "Because I needed time. To prepare. To protect myself. To make sure that when I walked away, I did it from a position of strength." She folded her hands on the desk. "While you were busy lying to me, I was busy meeting with divorce attorneys, forensic accountants, and business advisors." "Divorce attorneys," he repeated, his voice trembling. "Yes," she said simply. "Did you think I'd let this go on forever?" He tried to smile, tried to sound casual. "Rachel, come on. You're overreacting." "It's not." "Overreacting?" Her tone sharpened just a bit. "Ethan, cheating isn't a mistake. It's a choice. And you made that choice over and over again." He opened his mouth to speak, but she didn't give him the chance. "Our house is in my name, my parents made sure of that. The joint investments? Funded mostly by my inheritance. The car you drive is registered to me. And as of this week, I own this hotel and 2 other properties downtown." His eyes widened. "You used your inheritance money without telling me?" "I used my inheritance," she corrected. "The same way you used our credit cards asterisk to fund your little adventures. The difference is, my spending built something real." Marianne finally spoke, her voice calm and professional. "Mr. Cole, you'll receive divorce papers in the morning. Given the documented evidence of adultery and misuse of marital funds, I'd advise you to secure representation as soon as possible." "Evidence?" Ethan asked, his voice shaky. Rachel opened a drawer and pulled out a thick binder. "Hotel receipts. Credit card statements. Screenshots. Texts. Photos. 6 months' worth. I hired a private investigator back in February. You'd be surprised how much someone reveals when they think they're clever." "You hired a PI," he said quietly. "I did," she replied. "And I learned a lot. Enough to know exactly what I'm entitled to, and what you're not." He slumped back in his chair, defeated. "Rachel, please. Can't we at least try counseling?" She shook her head. "No, Ethan. I'm done. You've had a year to choose me. And you didn't. I spent months being angry, being broken. But then I realized something." She leaned forward slightly, her voice steady. "Your betrayal freed me. It made me see that the life I was living wasn't the one I wanted. So I used what I had, my education, my inheritance, my connections, and I built a future that doesn't include you." Marianne closed the folder. "Mrs. Cole's terms are clear. You'll be notified officially tomorrow." Ethan stood slowly, anger and panic flashing in his eyes. "You planned all of this, didn't you? Buying this hotel, being here tonight, it's revenge." Rachel's gaze was steady. "No. Revenge would be ruining you. This isn't about you at all. This is about me reclaiming my life. You showing up here tonight just made the timing convenient." He swallowed hard. So what happens now? You leave, she said simply. You'll find somewhere else to stay tonight. The locks at the house have been changed. Your belongings are in storage. And tomorrow, you start living with the consequences of your choices. She paused. Oh, and don't call me Rachel. I'm going back to my maiden name. Rachel Hartman. The woman you married is gone. The one sitting here doesn't need you anymore. Ethan stood frozen for a long moment, trying to process what had just happened. Just an hour ago, he was walking into one of the most luxurious hotels in the city, expecting a night of pleasure, secrecy, and control. Now he was standing in front of his wife, or rather, the woman who used to be his wife, watching every lie he'd told come crashing down around him. He wanted to say something, anything, to turn it around. But there were no excuses left. No smooth words could undo what she had seen or what she had already proven. He finally muttered, "You've changed." Rachel gave a small, humorless smile. "Yes. I have. Turns out betrayal is an excellent motivator." He looked down, defeated, then quietly left her office. The lobby was quieter now, but everyone seemed to know. The receptionist kept her eyes glued to the computer screen. The doorman avoided eye contact. Even the guests waiting in line gave him that look, the kind that mixes curiosity with silent judgment. Ethan walked out of the Langston Grand Hotel with his head low. The cold night air hit him like reality itself. His phone buzzed. It was a text from Layla. "I'm sorry, Ethan. I can't be part of this. Please don't contact me again." He sighed, staring at the glowing screen before another message appeared. "This is Rachel. The joint credit card you used for the hotel has been cancelled. You'll need to find your own way home." He felt his stomach twist. In less than an hour, he had lost everything: his wife, his mistress, his home, his dignity. And worst of all, everyone had seen it. He started walking down the street, the city lights reflecting in the windows like ghosts of the life he used to have. Somewhere between the hotel and the subway station, it hit him just how easily he'd thrown it all away. The next morning, the divorce papers arrived. Thick. Professional. Final. Ethan's attorney, David Mendez, flipped through the pages slowly, whistling under his breath. "Well," he said finally, "she's thorough." Ethan rubbed his temples. "Just tell me what it means." David leaned back in his chair. "It means you're in trouble, my friend. Your wife's attorney documented everything. The adultery, the financial records, the misuse of joint funds, it's airtight." "There must be something we can do," Ethan said. "Some kind of loophole?" David shook his head. "We could fight it. But it'll be expensive. And public. Once those court records go live, this becomes a headline. Your reputation will be gone." Ethan slumped in his chair, staring blankly at the desk. "Then what do I do?" "My advice," the lawyer said gently. "Accept the terms and move on. The more you fight, the uglier it gets." Even those who didn't mention it directly had that look in their eyes, pity mixed with quiet amusement. At meetings, when people whispered, he knew it was about him. One evening, he ran into an old friend at a bar. "Man, I heard about what happened," the friend said awkwardly. "That's rough." Ethan just nodded, sipping his drink. "Yeah," he said quietly. "Rough." He didn't tell him the rest, that every night when he went home, the silence in that empty apartment was deafening. That he still checked Rachel's business page sometimes, watching her new ventures thrive. That every success she had made him feel smaller. Back at the hotel, Rachel's days were busy and productive. She'd thrown herself into her new business, determined to turn the Langston Grand into the most reputable luxury brand in the city. Her leadership was firm but kind. She treated her employees with respect and made sure every detail, from the marble lobby to the scent in the hallways, reflected excellence. Guests noticed the difference immediately. Under Rachel Hartman's ownership, the Langston Grand was quickly becoming known for one thing above all: integrity. One afternoon, a nervous knock came at her office door. It was Layla. She looked different, modestly dressed, her hair tied back, her expression full of regret. "Mrs. Hartman," she said softly. "I wanted to apologize. Again. For everything." Rachel gestured for her to come in. "There's no need," she said kindly. "You weren't the one who betrayed me." Layla shook her head. "Still. I should have known something was off. I ignored the signs. I feel stupid." Rachel smiled faintly. "You're not stupid. You're just young. I used to believe the best in people too." Layla hesitated. "I lost my job. They said it was a conflict of interest after everything that happened." Rachel tilted her head thoughtfully. "What exactly did you do at the firm again?" "Marketing coordination. Event planning. Social media campaigns," Layla replied. "I'm good at it, I promise. I just made a really bad decision." Rachel looked at her for a long moment. Then she said, "The Langston Grand could use someone like you." Layla blinked. "Wait, you'd hire me?" "I believe in second chances," Rachel said. "Just not for people who waste them. If you're serious about starting over, I'll give you that chance." Tears filled Layla's eyes. "I won't let you down." "I know you won't," Rachel said with a smile. That day, Layla joined Rachel's team. And slowly, both women began to rebuild their lives, separately, but connected by one unforgettable night that changed everything. Ethan eventually received the final divorce settlement. The terms were harsh but fair. Rachel kept the house, the investments, and the businesses. He kept his car, his personal savings, and his regret. When he read the papers, he noticed something: Rachel had legally changed her name back to Hartman. Seeing it in writing made the loss feel real. She wasn't Mrs. Cole anymore. She wasn't his wife. She was herself again. For the first time in his life, Ethan understood what it meant to lose something irreplaceable, not because someone took it from him, but because he'd thrown it away. Rachel's story spread across the business community as a quiet triumph. A woman who turned heartbreak into success. Investors started calling. Other hotels wanted to partner. Her brand was growing faster than anyone expected. And late at night, when the city lights glittered beyond her office windows, Rachel sometimes thought back to that night, the lobby, the confrontation, the look on Ethan's face when he realized he'd been caught. But she didn't think about it with anger or satisfaction. She thought about it as the moment she got her life back. The moment she stopped being someone's wife and became her own person again. 6 months later, the Langston Grand Hotel looked completely different. The chandeliers sparkled brighter, the walls gleamed with new life. And the entire building seemed to hum with quiet pride. Guests poured in from all over the country to see what everyone had been talking about, the woman who turned betrayal into brilliance. Rachel Hartman, not Rachel Cole anymore, stood at the entrance, greeting guests as the cameras flashed. The reopening was a huge deal. The local news had shown up. Her name had become something of an inspiration. From heartbreak to hotel empire, one headline read. She didn't ask for the attention, but she'd learned to accept it with grace. She looked radiant, confident in a navy blue suit, hair neatly pulled back, eyes full of calm strength. Gone was the timid woman who used to wait for someone to love her right. In her place stood a woman who finally learned to love herself. As guests mingled, Rachel noticed Layla near the reception desk, smiling as she managed the press team. The young woman had grown so much since that night. She had found her rhythm again, creative, organized, full of purpose. Rachel watched her for a moment, proud. Sometimes, healing doesn't come from revenge or closure. It comes from building something new from the ashes. Marianne, her lawyer and now business partner, joined her with 2 glasses of champagne. "To new beginnings," she said. Rachel smiled, clinking her glass gently. "And to never settling for less again." They both laughed softly, the kind of laugh that comes from peace, not bitterness. Meanwhile, across the city, Ethan Cole was having a very different evening. He sat in a dimly lit bar, half-empty glass of whiskey in front of him, staring at a TV that happened to be playing the evening news. And there she was. Rachel Hartman, on screen, smiling, shaking hands, cutting the ribbon at her grand reopening. The reporter was saying words like visionary, inspiring, powerful businesswoman. Ethan's chest tightened. For a moment, he felt a pang of something deeper than regret, something closer to realization. He hadn't just lost a wife. He'd lost a woman who had believed in him even when he didn't deserve it. He turned the volume down, staring at the flickering image on the screen. The bar was mostly empty, except for a few men in suits talking about sports and work. But in that silence, Ethan finally understood. Loyalty isn't about what you say when things are good. It's about who you are when temptation knocks. And he had failed that test, miserably. Later that night, after the reopening ended, Rachel stood alone in the quiet hotel lobby. The guests had gone up to their rooms, the music had faded, and the only sound was the soft hum of the fountain in the center. She walked slowly to the big glass doors and looked out at the city lights reflecting on the street. For a moment, she thought about how far she had come, from crying in her car in a parking lot 6 months ago, to owning one of the most talked-about hotels in the city. It wasn't luck. It was grit. It was grace. And it was the courage to walk away when something no longer respected her worth. Her phone buzzed. It was a message, from an unknown number. "Rachel, I don't expect forgiveness. But I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I'm proud of you. You deserve everything you're getting. Ethan." She stared at it for a long time. There was a time when those words would have broken her all over again. But not tonight. She typed back, not out of anger, but peace. "Thank you. Take care of yourself." Then she placed her phone down, turned off the lobby lights, and walked toward the elevator, leaving the past exactly where it belonged. The months that followed were golden for Rachel. The Langston Grand became a brand. She opened 2 new branches, one in Miami, another in Chicago. Investors admired her leadership. Young women began writing to her, saying how her story gave them courage to start over. She never talked much about the scandal that started it all. She didn't need to. Her success spoke louder than any revenge ever could. She even started mentoring other women in business, teaching them not just how to manage profits, but how to recognize their value long before someone else tries to define it for them. One afternoon, as Rachel walked through the rooftop garden of her newest hotel, a journalist approached her for an interview. They asked her the question everyone wanted to know. "If you could go back to that night, the night you found your husband cheating, what would you say to your old self?" Rachel thought for a moment, the wind brushing softly through her hair. "I'd tell her to stop blaming herself," she said. "I'd tell her she's stronger than she thinks. That heartbreak doesn't end you, it redirects you. Sometimes, pain isn't punishment. It's preparation." The reporter smiled. "That's powerful." Rachel shrugged gently. "It's true. Some endings are really just the beginning." Meanwhile, Ethan took a new job, far from the city, in a smaller company. He lived quietly, kept to himself, and never spoke publicly about what had happened. He dated a little but never really connected again. Some scars just stay invisible. But every time he walked past a hotel or saw Rachel's name in a magazine, he couldn't help but feel 2 things at once, admiration and regret. He used to think success meant having control. Now he knew real success was having character. A year later, Rachel stood on stage at a women's business leadership event. Hundreds of people filled the room, clapping as she received an award for Entrepreneur of the Year. When she took the microphone, her voice was calm and warm. "Thank you," she began. "I didn't start this journey expecting to end up here. In fact, it began on one of the worst nights of my life. But that night taught me something I'll never forget. Sometimes, life breaks you on purpose. Not to destroy you, but to rebuild you stronger, wiser, and freer." The crowd erupted in applause. She smiled, not for the cameras, not for validation, but for herself. Because this time, she didn't need anyone to remind her she was enough. That evening, Rachel drove out of the city. She pulled over at a quiet overlook where the skyline stretched across the horizon, glowing gold and silver under the setting sun. She stepped out of her car, breathed in the crisp evening air, and let her heart rest. Everything she had lost once now felt like a memory she could finally bless and release. She whispered to herself. "Thank you for breaking me. You taught me how to build myself better." Then she smiled, a soft, peaceful smile, and walked back toward her car, ready for whatever came next. Because this time, she wasn't running from her past. She was walking boldly into her future. Sometimes life doesn't go the way we plan. Sometimes the person we trust the most ends up being our greatest lesson. But remember this, pain is not the end. It's the beginning of a new version of you that's wiser, stronger, and unstoppable. Rachel's story reminds us that no matter how bad it gets, you can always rebuild, and when you do, you'll realize that peace will always feel better than revenge. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more inspiring stories every week. Because somewhere out there, someone needs to hear this. You are not broken. You are becoming.